Welcome to the dark room. To the police, he was a predator, unlike any they had ever seen. Luis Alfredo Garavito was born in Colombia in 1957, and for much of his early life, nothing seemed remarkable about him. He came from a poor family, endured a childhood filled with abuse and neglect, and grew into an adult who seemed to drift through society. He sold odds and ends, took temporary jobs, and often moved from place to place. To those who met him briefly, he was just another man struggling to survive in the difficult landscape of Colombia in the late 20th century. But beneath that surface, Garavito was hiding the mind of a predator. By 1992, Garavito had become one of the most dangerous serial killers in history. His victims were almost always young boys, usually between the ages of 6 and 16, often from poor families or living on the streets. These children were some of the most vulnerable members of society, easy to lure, easy to manipulate, and often overlooked when they disappeared. Garavito exploited that vulnerability. He was a master of disguise, sometimes posing as a farmer, a street vendor, even a priest or charity worker. He promised food, work, or gifts, and his victims followed him, unaware of the fate that awaited them. Once he had isolated his victims in fields, wooded areas, or abandoned lots, the violence he inflicted was extreme. Investigators would later describe the crimes as among the most brutal they had ever encountered. For years, these disappearances went unnoticed by the larger public. Colombia was already engulfed in chaos. Drug wars, paramilitary violence, and economic instability consumed the nation's attention. In such an environment, the disappearance of a street child rarely made headlines. And so Garavito continued, moving from town to town, leaving behind a trail of devastation. In 1997, the bodies of children were found near Pereira. More graves soon followed. The pattern was undeniable. Dozens of boys, all mutilated, all linked. Witnesses described a man with thick glasses, seen with children shortly before they vanished. A nationwide search began. In 1999, Garavito was captured. Confronted with evidence, he confessed not to a few murders, but to more than 140. In chilling detail, he admitted to as many as 300 victims, making him one of the most prolific killers the world has ever known. He received over 1,800 years in sentences, yet Colombian law capped punishment at 40 years, sparking outrage across the nation. The sheer scale of his crimes revealed how vulnerable children had been and how weak institutions were in protecting them. Garavito exploited poverty and neglect, turning society's most defenseless into prey. His legacy is a warning of systemic failure. He spent his final years behind bars. In 2023, Luis Alfredo Garavito died in prison, leaving behind a legacy of fear and sorrow. For the families of hundreds of missing children, the nightmare never ended. Garavito may be gone, but the wounds remain. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this effort and you'd like to see more, you can repay me by subscribing and hitting the like. It will ensure the future of this channel. Goodbye for now. Thank you for visiting The Dark Room.